Did you watch it?
You got to tell me if that stops. You see this? It's counting. If it stops, can you tell me? No, if this... You see here, it's counting, so it's recording. If that stops, can you tell me?
If that stops?
Yeah, if this number stops. Don't worry. Hey, Chelsea. Yeah, hopefully it will be okay. Yeah, thank you.
After you are
So, Bruce, 你要小心哦。Bruce, no, 不可以碰它。
sit here. On my lap. Wow, a lot of stickers.
Hi everyone. Hello. Hi. Let's begin. It's interesting seeing Chinese people in the audience. So, I don't need this anymore. So welcome to the class today, and also Erta and Albana. Let's welcome them to the class as well. So we'll jump right into it then. So we've got some interesting stuff today. So today we'll first do a homework review of the 2 kinds of verbs that we looked at last week. And that will go nicely into separable verbs. So there are some verbs that we can separate, and what can we do with these. And then tone pairs, fluency, rhythm reading, and then lastly, Pleco. So what does one dot do in Pleco? So that would be interesting. So let's start with the homework review, and we looked at 2 kinds of verbs. So in your homework, in your research, first of all we talked about, the hand of instruction. So Tranjan and Trandao, and there's a double slash between the 2 verbs, the verb and the object here. So what did you learn? What's the reason for this? Did anyone find out? Go on, Cindy.
I did try looking it up, but is it so that you could put other words in between those 2 words?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, fantastic. Did anyone else get anything on top of that? Go on, Janky.
So the word, you can segment the word basically. Mm-hmm. So you can say just chuan instead of chuan tao, or chi instead of chi fan, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure.
I think in the second half of with the split is an object. It's a verb object.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
you can split them.
Yeah, fantastic. So this is an important distinction. So, 传讲 is a verb, and you just put these together. 传 and 讲 put together is a verb. But 传道 is a verb and an object put together. So when we zoom out, these two just look like verbs. When we zoom in, this one is just a verb. When we zoom in on this one, it's a verb and an object. So remember, an object is just something that is affected by the verb. So in this case, 传 is pass on, 讲 is to speak. But in this case, 传, pass on, object, doctrine. So an object is just a noun, and the noun here is 道, 传道. So this has different implications for how we can use these two verbs. So, on a fundamental level, Mandarin is almost the same as Chinese in the way we can structure sentences. Subject, verb, object. So, if you think about this sentence, for example, we preach the good news. We, the subject, the person. So, and it's still recording, okay? Yeah, okay. So, we preach the good news. So this is subject, we, preach, the verb, the good news, the object. So subject, verb, object. And we also need to understand what the difference is between these two verbs. And it's to do with this, transitive and intransitive. So this is the grammatical term. So a transitive verb requires an object. You have to give it an object. So take 传讲. If you say 我们传讲, you've only got subject and verb. There's no object. But it needs one. So just think about transitive. We know verbs are doing. They like to do stuff. So think about transitive verbs as verbs that have like empty hands. They're like, come on, give me something to do. Give me something to do. And you're like, can you do something with this good news? It's like, the 好消息, yeah, throw it over. So you throw it over and you get 我们传讲好消息. So now this obeys the rule, subject, verb, object, and also transitive verb needs an object. So we've obeyed that rule. But intransitive verbs, which is what this is, do not have an object. So, that's correct. What would the problem be with this?
It's got an object.
Yeah, yeah. So with this, remember, this is subject, verb, object. 我们传讲好消息. That's good. This is already a verb and an object. So when we say 我们传道, we've already fulfilled this rule. Subject, verb, object. But if we try and give it a 好消息, what we've just done is subject, verb, object, and another object. So remember, it's already got its hands full. It's like, why are you giving me more stuff to do? And so, we don't say 我们传道好消息. And just to emphasize this point, on Watchtower Online library, well, I'll ask you, how many times do you think the word 传道 appears? 12,011 times. You know how long it took me to count that? How about 传讲好消息? It's less than this. Anyone want to guess?
3000?
3000?
Can
835. And then even less, 传好消息. This appears 109 times. How many times do you think 传道好消息 appears in Watchtower?
他们都没有。
0 times. So that means then that we don't say this. But if we want to say we preach in many countries, we just say 我们在很多国家传道. If we want to say we preach the good news in many countries, 我们在很多国家传讲好消息. 我们在很多国家传好消息. And there are other words as well, like 宣扬好消息. But what we don't say is 传达好消息. Because it's already a verb and an object, and this is an extra object that we've given it. And so that goes against the grammar rule. So, does that make sense? So that's what we mean when we say there are two different verbs. There's a normal verb like 传讲, and then there's a verb object like 传达. And that means there are different things that we can do. So we just reviewed that, and that leads us into separable verbs, which is what all of you just said in your answers. So we'll come back to 传达 in a moment, because that's like a special one. But let's have a look at the verb 睡觉. 睡觉. So this is one of those separable verbs. So we've got the verb sleep, and then the object I sleep. So I wish this is how we spoke in English. Like, I need to sleep asleep. this is what we're saying in Chinese when we say 睡觉, we're saying sleep asleep. So if you wanted to say to someone, I hope you have a good sleep, what we mean is, I hope you sleep a good sleep. So what English does with the word have, it replaces a lot of verbs. So if I say, I want to have a burger, then which verb have I replaced? I want to have a burger. Simon?
Eat.
Yeah, eat. So in Chinese we wouldn't say, 我要有汉堡. So 我要吃汉堡. I want to have a cup of tea. A drink. So Chinese would say 我要有一杯茶. 我要喝一杯茶. So when they say I want to have a sleep or have a good sleep, what we mean is sleep a good sleep. And if you notice what's happening here, well, if we look at this first. So if we just say 希望你睡觉, this is just I hope you sleep. But what we want to do is modify the noun. We want to say a good sleep. So what's the noun for sleep? 觉. And what's good? 好. And how do we say a? Yeah, 一个. That's it, yeah. So this is how one way would say this. 希望你睡个好觉. So let's take a closer look at this. Sleep, the verb. 个好觉, the noun. So all this is really is 睡一个好觉. But many native Chinese, they will just take away the e. It's easy to say 睡个好觉. So when we look at it like this is actually a structure that we see all the time. So what it is, number, e, measure word, 个, adjective, 好, 觉, noun. And we do this all the time. 一个好人, 一本好书, or something like this. And because it's what's going on here, when the adjective is one syllable, that's why we don't have the de. But if we said 非常好的觉, now this becomes a structure that we're also used to seeing. Number, e, measure word, 个, adjective, 非常好的觉, noun. And so what we're looking at here, 睡得非常好的觉. Pull out the number, 睡得好觉. And so this is a structure that we use all the time and we're very used to seeing. So hope you sleep a good sleep. 希望你睡得好觉. 睡得好觉. Sleep a good sleep. So what we've done is just modify the noun. It's not just a sleep, it's a good sleep. So anything that you can do with all other nouns, you can do with the nouns in these separable words. And anything that you can do with normal verbs, you can also do to verbs in these pairs. So that being said, sleep a good sleep, 睡个好觉. How do you think you say slept a good sleep? Yeah. Exactly. 睡了个好觉. Slept a good sleep. So what have we done? Now we've modified the verb. So remember, the tells us that an action has been completed. 睡了个好觉. So we've gone from 睡觉 to 睡个好觉 to 睡了个好觉. And if you wanted to say, so sleep a good sleep, 睡个好觉, didn't sleep a good sleep, how would we modify the verb? What would we use?
May shui.
Yeah, yeah. So 没睡 would be didn't sleep. 没睡个好觉. And 不睡 would be don't sleep. Like if it's noisy outside, well, 不睡. So you notice how what we're doing to the verb and to the noun is what we'd usually do to any verb and to any noun. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay, cool. But that's not the only thing that we can do to these. Oh, yeah, that also means didn't sleep well. It's the same thing. Let's have a look at another sentence. They drove the car for 7 hours. Do you remember last week? We did verb duration. So, can anyone remember how would we translate this sentence using verb duration? 你真的要回答了？好，可以啊。你可以打给我啊。慢慢的学中文。好，可以啊。Who wants to try? So 7 hours is 7个小时。7个小时，对。Drove the car.
开车。
Yeah. So remember, 我等你等了3个小时. So how would you say use that pattern to say this? 他们
开车 开了7个小时。
Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. 他们开车开了7个小时. This one's with Simon.
现在没有。Don't have that.
So 他们开车开了7个小时. This is a verb duration. But we can also use a split verb method. So follow the car and see what happens. 他们开了7个小时的车. Yeah, that's what happened to me when I first found out. So what we've done is let's compare the two. Let's have a look at the two together. So in this one, this is the verb duration. So what we've done here, 开车开, we have to repeat the verb. 开车开, and put the noun in the middle. What happens here is we only say the verb once, and 车 goes all the way to the end. And then we use this time duration, almost like we're describing the car. 他们开了7个小时的车. And at first glance, this is quite confusing because it's like, what do you mean a 7-hour car? What happens after 7 hours? Where does it go? And why say it like this? So sometimes with grammar points, it's good to try and understand the why, but if you can't, it's better to understand the how to use it. And I'll give you an example, and keeping in mind that my brain is weird. So imagine I'm walking down the street and a guy jumps up in front of me and does the splits. Now first of all I'll be like, oh, okay, that's brought a tear to my eye. But then I'll be like, I don't know why you're doing that, but if I want to know how, then I'll have to do some exercises until I get comfortable doing it. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do some exercises together to learn how to do the splits. So if everyone could stop now, you can remain seated. But we are going to do some exercises. So let's revisit this sentence. Could everyone say, 他们开车开了7个小时. 他们开车开了7个小时. Yeah, that's the verb duration. Split verb. 他们开了7个小时的车. Nice, excellent. So what we're going to do, similar to last week, we'll use these as our reference point and then build sentences with them. So, like goes up there. He slept all day. So how do we say all day?
一整天
Yeah, 一整天 and sleep,
睡觉
睡觉. So we have our verb and time duration. So first of all, using this structure, how would we say he slept all day?
睡了一整天。
睡觉睡了
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I heard you say it. So let's say it all together. 他睡觉睡了一整天. Excellent. Now we're going to follow this pattern to say the same thing. So, 他们开了7个小时的车. How do we say he slept all day using this pattern?
他睡了一整天的觉
Yes, excellent. So let's say this all together. 他睡了一整天的觉. Excellent. Okay. Nice. Little squeaky voice there. So, have a chat. Does anyone know how to say to chat? 聊天.
聊天
Now, this is quite interesting. Well, at least I think so. So, 聊天, so the verb to chat. Well, what is the object? So, some people say, oh, it's heaven, 天, or sky, or day. But have a quick look at the history of what this possibly could be. So, there's a 4-word idiom. 天南地北. 天 means the sky, 南 means south, 地 means the earth, 北 means north. So this word can mean 3 things: far apart from each other, from different areas. It can also mean every and any topic under the sun. So 聊天 is to chat about everything. So using this word, have a chat. Let's say I chatted with her for a few minutes. Now we have a challenge here because we don't say 我聊天她 or 我聊她天. So what word do we need for this? Then, yeah. So a few minutes. 几分钟, yeah, excellent. So we know chatted, 聊天. So I with her. That's what we say first. I with her. So that's,
跟他
yeah. And then we just do the rest. 我跟他, and then what do we say?
我跟他聊天聊了
Yeah, yeah, excellent. So, let's sit together. 我跟他聊天聊了几分钟. Excellent. And now we want to do split verb. How do we do that?
我跟他聊天了几分钟的
Yeah.
我跟他聊了几分钟的天
Yes. Yeah. 一起合作. Okay. Yeah.
Why are there 2 liaos of the 聊天liao?
This one?
Yeah.
So this is that, you know how we repeat the verb and then put the object in the middle. So the same as here. 开车开了. This is 聊天聊了. Do you mean why? Why is that?
What's the grammar of behind the?
Well, one of the reasons is well, le modifies a verb and not a noun. So if you got 聊天, although, yeah, anyway. When it comes to grammar, it gets a bit murky.
Yeah.
But le modifies the noun, the verb, sorry. So 聊天, and then we need the verb again, so it goes together with le.
Is it just because for the le, why there's another liao?
Yes.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
I think.
Whereas here, so that's a good question. Whereas here, 聊了, so it's together anyway. Yeah. Did you just say this? Okay.
我跟他聊
Once again, good question, by the way. 我
我
跟他聊了几分钟的天. Excellent. So, another one. Get married. How do you say get married?
结婚
结婚. So, I don't know why.
为什么你抢我的
So I love this word. Do you know how in English we say tie the knot? We have that phrase. Yeah, is to tie a knot. And in marriage, hun is marriage. Do you have that phrase? Do you have tie a knot in Korean for marriage?
We use the same characters for marriage too.
Really?
Yeah.
Does it mean the same thing?
Yeah,
to tie a knot?
same.
Ooh. What about in Italian? Do you have tie a knot?
Oh, really?
Married or
That's right. Knots don't have to be involved. Yeah, so 结婚. So they've been married for a year. So a year?
一年
India. Yeah, so let's do this. How do we say that using verb duration?
结了一年
Yeah, yes.
Look.
Exactly.
Oh, hang on.
So let's say that together.
They've been.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah. Austria.
So I forgot about this. Double nut.
Double nut.
So because they have been married, so a year's already been completed, but it's still going on. So remember that's where we need the double nut. You've already seen it. So,
他们
结婚结了一年了。
sometimes I might put an ijing in there as well, but I just left it out just to simplify it.
If you put Yijing, where would that, like Tam and Yijing, like that, where would that go?
他们结婚，他
Yijing.
们已经结婚结了一年了。
Yijing, yeah.
So how do we do the split verb version?
他们结了一年的婚
Yeah, I know, you're good.
But we need to
So
set
Tam
it
and
up.
Jia
Yeah. So here, if we put the 已经 in, 他们已经结了一年的婚了。Let's say this together.
的婚。
他们结了婚
一年的婚了。
他们结了
So
一年的婚了。
If we have this way to say it, then why learn it this way? Because it is used this way. And so you will be able to understand if someone says to you, 他们开了7个小时的车, you will know they don't mean they drove a 7-hour car. They meant they drove a car for 7 hours. So even if you don't use it, you can understand what's coming at you. You'll be able to understand. So, what we're going to do is do an exercise together. Yes, Ian and Wang Yi.
不用买压力。
Queen of Hearts. Queen of my heart.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
I'll see you later. Yeah. Go home now.
Oh dear.
You just wish you'd said it.
I know. Got another week so people forget. Go. Do shorter.
Oh yeah.
I'll take the
So what you need to do is to look up the highlighted word or phrase. So if you have a king card, you look up dance. And what you want to do is find the correct separable verb. So it should have the double slash. So enter dance, scroll down until you get a word that has the double slash. If you have the jack cards, then look up meet. If you have the queen card, look up the word walk. And if you have the ace card, you need to look up the phrase have a day off. And find the verb that has the double slash. Once you've found that verb, you then need to translate the sentence into verb and duration and split verb. So you translate this sentence into verb and duration, same sentence into split verb, following the pattern here. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Oh yeah. Yeah. There might be more people with cards, but you take one, pass it along. There you go.
放一下，放一下，看得到。啊，原来大家我的喜欢。你直接会。看不见，看不见。
So, so in your group, you're walking for 3 days.
Oh, I see.
Do the exercise.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, which group?
Where's your mum?
I've got different. Maybe we're harder. I'm gonna go over there.
Does anyone not have a card?
That's good.
There you go. Have you got a card? No. Yeah? Oh, sorry.
That's cool.
There you go.
And then we all go into each with the same card.
Yeah. Oh, you need a card?
Yeah. I thought, is it a group? Is it a group?
Yes. Oh, so you. Oh, so who did I give the?
We all face.
Oh, Ian. Ian's got the king card. If you could come over here. So over there, please. So if you've got a king card, then you're with Ian. So who's got the ace card? Oh, if you have an ace card, if Wang Li, if you could come here, you're with Wang Li. So you have an ace card, so you're with Wang Li. Do you have a card? Yeah.
That's what I was getting confused with. I did have one on.
Oh, that's true.
What's that?
Sorry.
There's no
sorry.
time, is there? There's no time. Yeah.
Just
There's not enough
where we're
room.
going. We have a group.
Okay, there you go.
Don't bend it, okay?
So who's got a jack card? Who has a jack card? Could you go over there with Ruben?
What's all day?
Okay.
What day?
Yeah, you're with Ruben. Yeah. And then
Whole?
you've got the queen. Okay.
So one whole day.
So you two, you're in that group. Okay. So you dance full down. Do you go at the back?
We dance all day. We dance all day 要翻译成上个讲。第一句话 We dance all day. 就第一句话。是咯。我们 few minutes left.
Yeah, we danced all day. That's the
That's a hard one.
Oh yeah, that's what I gave you one.
It's so good. The first one. Did you?
Well, the first one is
Is that an
Yeah, so we're You're right. Sorry. So we're that sort of So we're not
So 我 think of the same. You almost there. One more. You just said more like 一整天
So we have to find
But what about the first one?
and then the third again like 跳
Do you actually
You want to say dance? No, because we are learning 跳舞 We are learning 跳舞 So yeah, this is where 我们跳了一整天的舞。我们跳了一整天的舞。We don't act on See, this is all. See the suggestion. Also, it's not. Okay, can you type 我们跳了 again?
So you know it's got the doors.
How many minutes?
Oh, it's gone past 30.
Okay, stop it. Because it won't last. There's no editing to do.
Yeah.
You can send it to me.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Oh,
It'll be ending.
mental collection.
Yeah. Yeah, we're only about 20 minutes left.
Well, the separated ones. Yeah. So we've got 4 races, you've got to have replacement.
We are so advanced with it.
Really? You finished already?
with the help of
No, we didn't.
Chinese
You know what's the word for meat? Raw. Raw meat.
Hello. Hi. So, since everyone has already finished, and we don't have much time, unfortunately, so in half the time you finish, that's good. So we're just going to carry on to the answers. Okay. So, who has the king card? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, how do you say this? I met with him 2 times. First of all, the verb duration.
It's the wrong one. We are the first sentence.
Oh. You have that one. Okay, it's all gone. It's all gone wrong. So you had that one. So how do you say that then?
Yeah, we got it.
我跟他见面见了2次. Excellent. So how do we do that with the split verb? Sorry, Shannon's not either. Sean?
我跟他见了2次的面。
Oh, nice. 我跟他见了2次的面. Excellent. Excellent. Well done. Okay, so whoever has this, We've been walking for 3 days. Who has that? Who had that one?
That's
Okay. Yeah. Oh, so that was right, wasn't it? That one was right.
yes.
Yeah. So how do you say we've been walking for 3 days?
我们走路走了3天了。
Yeah. Excellent. And the split verb?
我们走了3天的路。
Yeah. Excellent. Nice. Brilliant. Okay. And who had this sentence? How many days do you have off? Yeah. Go on. Do you want to?
你放假放了多少天？
Yeah, yeah. So remember, there's more than one way to say it. So, 你放假放几天? So this is like how many days do you have off, rather than did you have off? But you can still say that 你放假放了几天? It will be the same meaning, really. Yeah. So split verb.
We did 放了多少天的假?
Yeah. So
That one.
it would be the same, but yeah. So there's more than one way to say it. Yeah. Excellent. And then lastly, we danced all day. Who had this one? The dancers.
我们跳舞跳了一整天。
Yes. And the split verb. Yeah, go on.
我们跳了一整天的。
Yeah. Nice third time. Nice and there. Excellent. Fantastic. So that's the exercise. Well done, everyone. Should be in half the time as well. So I just want to quickly talk about 传导. So what we've just seen is how you can split the verb and put stuff in between. And let's look at that again. The verb here is pass on, and the object is doctrine. So what if we wanted to say we preached all day? Could we say 我们传道传了一整天? Grammatically, there is no problem with this. It's the same as all the other verbs that we looked at. But in our theocratic vocabulary, we don't say it. And what about 我们传了一整天的道? Grammatically, it's no problem. Same as the other verbs. But we just don't say it. And I don't know why, but it might be because, remember, Dao means doctrine. And how weird it would be if someone said, how many hours of doctrine so to spread? So it sounds like really strange. They're too closely related, even though that's what preaching is. But maybe theocratically that would sound a little bit weird. So how do we say we preached all day? We just say 我们传道了一整天. Okay. Yeah. So any questions? We can. Yeah.
So if that is right,
Yeah.
but we can't transfer that simplicity to the other ones. This is just theocratic things.
You can transfer that to the other ones. So you can say 他
我们聊天了一整天。
Yeah, 我们聊天了一整天. So there's about 5 different ways you can say the same thing. Yeah. But why? That's not, I can see it, her mouth was like. It's just the same as in English. There's like, you have a sentence and you could say it in 3 or 4 different ways. And if you were to ask a native speaker, well, why do you say it like that sometimes? Why do you say it like another way? They wouldn't know the answer, because we just be like, oh, it's just the way you say it. So let's move on to pronunciation. Sorry to be going so fast, but this is an important. Let's have a look at this video about tone pairs.
A lot of people practice tones individually, but actually the most effective way to practice is in combination. Because in real life, syllables are hardly ever spoken in isolation. Let me show you this chart. I call it a tone pairs chart. Take a good look. It lists 20 words that are going to be really helpful for you as you practice tones. You need to master these 20 words 100%. In the future, when you learn any new Chinese word, having this foundation will give you a quick association between a new word and a word that you're already familiar with in this chart. For example, if you come across a new word that has a second tone followed by a third tone, is back to the word that you already know that has the same tone combination. And then you think, oh, that's easy. I already know what the tones are like for this new word.
Excellent. So what we got from that? Firstly, it's better to learn tones in combination rather than in isolation. And secondly, how many combinations are there? 20. Up to, like 2 tone pairs. So there's, which is what pair is. So if we learn these 20 tone pairs, then we can apply it to any word that has the same tone pair. So I've taken her idea and stolen it, and used the words that we normally use in our vocabulary. So let's go to the finger. So let's go through these. Yesu,
Yesu,
经文，
经文，
方法，
方法，
帮助，
帮助，
知道，
知道，
文章，
文章，
常常，
常常，
容许，
容许，
暑假，
暑假，
什么，
什么，
感激，
感激，
可能，
可能，
也许，
也许，
可是，
可是，
好的，
好的，
圣经，
圣经，
问题，
问题，
看法，
看法，
上帝，
上帝，
谢谢。
谢谢。
And the good thing is, you know, as we went along, the beginning of each word was the same. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. If we go down, then the end sound is the same. So let's do that. 耶稣，
耶稣，
文章，
文章，
感激，
感激，
圣经，
圣经，
经文，
经文，
常常，
常常，
可能，
可能，
问题，
问题，
方法，
方法，
容许，
容许，
也许，
也许，
看法，
看法，
帮助，
帮助，
暑假，
暑假，
可是，
可是，
上帝，
上帝，
知道，
知道，
什么，
什么，
好的，
好的，
谢谢，
谢谢。
Excellent. So if we come across a new, oh yeah, we've done that. So if we come across a new third, fourth word, then we think it should sound the same as 可是. If we come across a new 1, 2 word, it should sound the same as 经文. If we come across a new fourth, third word, it should sound the same as 看法. So that's what she meant by learn these 20 tone pairs, and then we can apply it to other tone pairs. So, or words with the same tone pair. The one that I want to focus on today is my favourite tone pair of them all. Third second. Everybody say 可能. So, it's not, notice it's not 可能. It's low and then rises. 可能. Again, one more time. 可能. Excellent. So, remember this exercise, how to get into it. So we start with the first tone, into the neutral, and then into the third tone. So let's do that with the third, second tone pair. So, ka, ka, ka. Ka, ka. Ka. 可能 不可能 上帝不可能说谎
上帝不可能说谎
以前 我以前 相信进化论 进化论 哦，怎么会这样呢？选择怎么做？大部分人选择怎么做？包宝宝，保罗，使徒保罗， 使徒保罗写了罗马书。
使徒保罗写了罗马书。
Excellent. Now Janine will tell you my most favourite thing to say in Chinese is what? 使徒保罗. Like sometimes we'll be at home. Janine will be in the other room and I'll just walk past like 使徒保罗. And sometimes as I'm walking away, I'll hear a soft voice say 使徒彼得. Also possible. But my most favourite thing to say of all time in Chinese is the Apostle Paul, possibly. Tone heaven. Everybody say 使徒保罗可能. 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 有时小时比如法国美国恳求选择以前主题起床果实走回去买房子你能来吗？我能来也能去法则 and everyone all together now I am your father. all of that was just so I could say it. I don't care about that. Okay, so we just have to skip past this part now. So we'll do it next week instead. Because I just want to get to... So, Pleco, 1 dot. So let's talk about what that does. So say you're listening to a public talk and you hear the speaker say 使徒保罗用了一个很有力的比喻. Now imagine this is the first time you hear this word, but he said it really fast. So you hear the sound 有力, you don't hear the tones, you don't know which character it is, and you want to say, brother, what are the tones on that? But it's a public talk. So you get out your Pleco. Well, you know from the context, it's the Apostle Paul used a something illustration. You know from the context. So you get out Pleco and you put in Yoli. And what happens when you just put in Yoli? You can't see it, but you get Yoliang, Yolia, Yolin, and some other ones, Yolia. So this is too much of a long list. So what you do after Yoli is put 1 dot. And this shortens the list. And now you have only a few to look through. And you think naturally it must be this one. Yoli. Which means strong, powerful, forceful. So what the speaker said was 使徒保罗用了一个很有力的比喻. So we use, which means the Apostle Paul used a powerful illustration. So you use 1 dot to shorten the list when you know the pronunciation of something, or maybe not the tone. So for homework, in Pleco, use the 1 dot method to search for Yoju. So we don't know the tones, we don't know the characters, but we want to find a 3-character word that you can use to translate this sentence. This principle helps to build true friendships. And by the way, there was a brother, he got sick of saying "bangzhu, bangzhu, bangzhu" all the time. Like, all we ever say is "bangzhu." This is an opportunity to learn a new word that sometimes can replace "bangzhu." Not all the time, but sometimes. So that's the first homework, to search in Pleco, type in Yoju, and put 1 dot after the Zhu, and you will get a word that will help you to translate this. And secondly, in Pleco, look up all the verbs you know until you find one with the same verb-object pattern as kai cha. So kai / cha. So that's the kind of word you're looking for. Then use the word you find to create a verb duration and a split verb. Does everyone understand that? Is that okay? Any questions about that?
Can you repeat it?
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. So just keep looking up all the verbs you know. So the two syllable verbs until you find one that has the same verb object pattern as kaita. So if you look at kaita, it has kai, then slash cha. So this is a separable verb. So you want to look at the verbs that you know until you find one that has that pattern. And then when you find one, follow this pattern, to create a verb duration with the verb that you've found. And then create a split verb one using that pattern with your verb. So for example, if I'm looking through and I put in, let me see, for example, if I put in sleep, and I say, oh, 睡觉, oh, it's got the same pattern as culture, and then I will use 睡觉 to create a sentence like this, and a sentence like that. Does that make sense? Okay. And then we can't do this one. Oh, yeah, you can still practice the tone pairs and practice the third, second tone, but we didn't do this today, so we'll do this next week. So that's homework number 3. Homework number 4. You can do this anytime, any place. Throughout the week, at random times, in random places, just say a random 3-2 tone word. It can be any word you want. Okay, that's the end.
Thank you, Wayne.
Yeah? Yeah, there's a folder.
You start now. Random place, random time.
English first, actually. So, like, before we know Chinese grammar, we have to learn English. And then when we start learning Chinese grammar, everything in English starts making sense. What is
I know, isn't it? You've got a necklace.